sings this. Well, not sings it, but composes this.
That was yeah.
Mozart?
Wasn't it Mozart? I'm pretty sure.
Stravinsky.
It's for Elise. I know that.
It's my go-to Jeopardy answer. All right, we are live, 8 o'clock Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's PGA Live Before Lock from Awesemo.com. I am Ben Rasa. That is Eric Lindquist. We are ready to go. It is major season PGA Championship from Kiawah Island, the Ocean Course. Got a lot to talk about tonight. You got to be excited, though, are you not?
Yeah, I'm so excited. Major championships just feel different the whole week leading up to it. There's a kind of anticipation. I mean, we're digging into this. We do this every single week. Most of you are here every single week, but for whatever reason, when you're watching the Golf Channel and the amount of coverage that it gets, I mean, there's nothing quite like the build up to any major championship. And I really believe the move for the PGA to May has added just so much more suspense to what they're doing, because besides like Tiger Woods W's or 3-hole playoffs, I don't remember any PGA championship like the last 20, 25 years. So maybe a little bit the Dustin Johnson accident at Whistling Straits, and like just nothing really sticks out to me. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty fair that the other three majors kind of have a unique identity. You've got the Masters is the Masters, the Open is over in Europe, and the US Open's the US Open. The PGA is just like, it kind of feels like a normal week in a lot of ways. So I like the schedule change, maybe make it stand out a little. And I like this course. We've got a lot to get to. But let's do what we always do, chat. Let's start by hitting the like button. We're going to get right to it. Off the top, subscribe, notification bell. It's appreciated. And this is a big week, but we go to waves, we go to weather, we go to withdraws. It's a full field. It's a little different because we've got about 20 or so PGA professionals who have virtually no chance. So when you get rid of them, you're looking at more of like an invitational field, top 70 in ties. That's the other note. But the thing I want to get into, because withdrawals are really non-existent, is the weather. It's a huge topic of discussion. We could probably spend a whole hour just on that. But what are you doing right now as you sit here with the weather?
I'm trying to figure it out as best I can. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube, and I'm trying to solve it, and there's got to be a way to do it. But I think the general answer, I think the straightforward one to me would probably be to be favoring a little bit more Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but it feels like that's a little bit of the better draw. Wind direction on this golf course matters a lot. You can get some of those crosswinds, but specifically some of those holes coming into the teeth of it. A lot of the players have been talking about the par threes on the back nine. When you get to like something like 17, that's 235 into the teeth of it. That gets very, very difficult. And those are the kind of spots where like I'm trying to avoid some of the bigger, windier sections of time. And there's a couple of different spots that I've been trying to pick some of the wind from. But what it looks like to me is that around 2-3 o'clock, it's going to be blowing about 13 to 15 miles an hour with gusts up to like 17 and 20 on Thursday. And then for Friday, you're looking at a little bit gustier than that with up to 25. Like, I just think that Friday afternoon could get extremely ruckus, and I'm trying as best as I can to avoid that. Do you agree with it?
So I agree that if I had to make a bet on what would be the better draw, I would say PM AM. I do think that, but it's going to be windy regardless. And I think for the most part, everyone's going to have to play with it. And the guys were talking today, I watched a lot of the Golf Channel, and they were saying it can change. You could play holes into the wind and then it flips and then you have to play more holes into the wind, or vice versa. So I really think this is one where you got to plan. If you're building enough teams, I strongly would suggest having stacks of both waves in certain situations, because I think this is unquantifiable. But I am with you. PM AM seems to be the preferred draw, and that brings in a lot of big time players. I think that's a pretty easy one to stack.
Agreed. And going like 4-2-5-1, just basically being the numbers from them. And I think you can throw in some stacks of the other section, because again, there is so much variance that can come with this. I think I am going to be favoring more Thursday PM and Friday AM. That's just kind of what it looks like to me. But having some shots on some groupings that might somehow, because the wind can change. It's so hard to gauge as is. And I think you talk all the time about how we can kind of predict what Thursday is going to do a little bit better than what we can do with Friday. And so whether or not that is what ends up happening, I'm going to guess that is, but it's not crazy to maybe go a couple Thursday AM, Friday PMs, just in the event that things change and that Friday, which is going to be the windier day, it looks like, ends up being ruckus in the morning for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think that again, there's always leverage just in general. If everybody thinks that, you may get some guys in that AM PM wave that maybe aren't as owned as they would have been. So if the split is even, you pick up some ownership if nothing else. And I think that's probably, I will say most of my teams are, I have less 3-3 and 4-2 than I normally have. I have a lot of 6-0 or 0-6, I guess you could say, and 5-1s, more than I normally do, because I think regardless of what you do, you want to cluster because the wind is going to play a factor. It may turn out to be nothing, but this week I'm treating this like an open championship in a lot of regards.
Yeah, agreed with that. I think anybody who's been playing golf DFS, that is the week that we factor it in and talk about it the most. But we've even seen tournaments. The Wells Fargo had a discernible weather draw. We've seen it happen earlier here. You and I both try not to freak out too much about it, but I think you got to be very cognizant going into it, what the tee times are, being able to group them, and kind of living with the result of it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And I mean, let's continue it to the ocean course itself, because the reason we're talking weather is because of this course. It's right on the ocean. It is extremely long, but the distance is kind of misleading in the sense that the wind makes certain holes play 100 yards less and other holes feel like 100-yard more. So they're going to move tee boxes. I've seen that all day and whatnot. But what do you look at, with this course? Is there something in terms of skill sets? Because we had a question right before the show from Milton about, he was saying that I always like to correlate a skill set, but with a course, it seems like bombers could succeed. It seems like second shot could succeed. What do you do in a situation like this?
I think 175 to 225 and even like 225 to 250 actually kind of matters. And looking at all of these par threes, you're going to see players who are not used to hitting 3, 4, 5 iron. Will Zalatoris talked about it quite a bit, where he's like, I wore out the groove in my 3 iron for the first time, where he was hitting like 3 consecutive 3 irons on the back 9. And that's going to be kind of what it is. Some long iron specialists, Paul Casey came to mind for me quite a bit. Somebody that has been historically looked at as a guy who is a very good long iron player. And players like that really can kind of separate themselves because you do have such difficult holes. And yeah, everybody, when you're downwind, sometimes that can even be more difficult depending on, I don't mean that like, oh, you're downwind and, it's going to be a longer club the way that, you're not going to be hitting 3, 4 iron by any means, but you got to be able to control your ball. And so looking at some of these approach guys who are really gaining strokes with approach lately, a guy like Charlie Hoffman has been popping up for me this week as well, like he normally does, players like that. And then also accepting the fact that there are going to be some wayward shots by pretty much everybody in the field. I don't care how accurate you are. You're going to put yourself in some uncomfortable situations because of this wind, because you're hitting longer clubs. And so I'm factoring a little bit more of strokes gained around the green. That's somebody like Justin Thomas, who's been popping up for me more on the top end. A couple guys like even Cantlay, who's been brutal of late over the course of the last 50 rounds, still somebody you can kind of make a number. And I think it brings some of those guys who might've been struggling in a ball striking department, I think they can also have a pretty good fighting chance this week too.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair in terms of, you're going to need, every guy said the same thing. You need kind of an all around game here. So to address the skill set, it's kind of like the wind for me. Normally, if I'm going to correlate skill set, I know which one I want. My teams do have a theme in most regards. They're just different. Like if I have Spieth and Reed, I'm much more likely to use, a guy that's a really good around the green player than like Hovland on that team. Because if Hovland succeeds here, it's hard to imagine that around the green is super the emphasis. Likewise, if I've got, Rory and Hovland together, I doubt Webb would find his way onto that team because driving distance and off the tee mashing is probably what I'm going for. So I'm kind of building like that. I do think around the green will be important. That's something that you mentioned. If the wind gets up, the GIRs will drop, the around the green, the scrambling will be emphasized. Last thing I wanted to ask you directly on the course, though, is pass palm greens. We don't see them much. We see them on the islands. What do you do with that? Is that just more secondary, or do you actually look into maybe a different type of putter here?
Yeah, we talked about this a lot. Of Corrales was the
Yeah.
last time we talked about Paspalum, and I had brought up that we were going to see it again for the PGA Championship, and here we are. It makes the around the green game a little bit easier from the sounds of it, is that the ball sits up a little bit more. And from a putting perspective, it's going to be a little bit slower. There's some of the guys who kind of prefer the PGA Tour style where it's going to be 12, 13, 14 on the stimp, something crazy like that. That's probably not going to be this week, especially because they are expecting wins. So I don't know. I'm doing a small bit of Euro weighting too, where some of the European Tour guys who see slower greens at the Ryder Cup, this happens all the time, and this is just from watching Ryder Cups my entire life. Is that these European guys love to slow the greens down to take advantage of Americans, and I'm not saying that it's a huge difference. I still think it's an American golf tournament. They're going to be running at 11 and a half is what the number looks like. So that's fairly quick still by most standards, but I think there's a tiny bit of a Euro weighting that you can have too, where those guys play in these difficult kind of conditions. They putt on slower greens traditionally, and I think there might be a little bit more comfort for them compared to some of the standard Americans who play country club greens, bent grass, where it's going to be 13s routinely.
I don't think there's any debate in that. They can't make them fast in Europe because the balls, you wouldn't be able to mark. The balls would be rolling all over the place. It's like that here. We saw in 2012, Euros litter the board, just like the Open Championship. Again, if you want to take that, this has a links feel in a lot of regards. It's not to say throughout the Americans, obviously the top end American talent, I'd take that basically any day of the week. It's a fantastic batch, but I think they're not as accustomed to some of these conditions, especially if it gets freakishly difficult. That's going to be tough for some of those pure ball strikers to handle. But you want to get into the pricing here?
Let's do it. Yeah, it's golf that's not in a snow globe. That's kind of the way that I've been looking at it all week. We're not playing in a snow globe. We're not playing in an arena. This is going to be really, really fun.
Yes, it's going to be a good time. It's a great field. Like I said, you've got 20 creative players, but other than that, it's a loaded field. There's no doubt about it. We got Rory leading us off. We've got JT. We've got DJ. We've got Rahm. We've got Bryson, and we've got Spieth. We've got 6 guys north of 10K. Ownership is interesting. You mentioned before the show you're a little surprised that Rory's not taking a ton of love right now, coming off a win and being the defending champion, although it was 9 years ago. What do you think about him at that premium tag, and where are you kind of looking to start your lineups?
So yeah, we saw at the Masters and at the Players, he was basically losing strokes gained total. We don't have the Masters tournament. We don't get all of that data, but at the Players, 8.2 strokes lost total. And a lot of that comes to do with the inflation you talk about, hitting it in the water, and that can get south on you really, really quick. But what's interesting is that he was just losing a bunch of strokes putting, minus 6.4 strokes per strokes gained putting. Not very good over at the Players. Turned that around last week, or 2 weeks ago. The Wells Fargo 6.9 strokes game putting. I don't know. I just kind of expected by default, being that he won here in 2012, being that he won 2 weeks ago, being that the main question everybody had was about his form. I expected him to come in around 15, 20%. I just am very, very surprised that we're not seeing that happen over the course of this week. And it's kind of making me question what I want to do on this top end, because de facto, Justin Thomas is my guy. I'm way overweight to him. Am I ecstatic about the way that his putter has been of late? Absolutely not. It's been pretty garbaggio, but Rory Mcilroy, I can't believe his ownership. And I think that I already was doubling it by default. When I looked at that last night, I basically said 15% of Rory, get over top the field, and I'll live with that. I think I might have to be upping it a little bit more considering it hasn't changed.
So it's funny. I was kind of the opposite, even though I love Rory. I was thinking, okay, Rory's going to be very popular. I'm not going to get over. That's fine. I'll short him and I'll be content with that. I'm coming in maybe slightly over now because of the situation, and I'm fine with that. That's great. I guess people are just having difficulty building, and I felt that. I certainly built some teams already, and clicking in Rory, it changes the dynamic. Now, it's not that big a difference because I did try to get to JT. I'm kind of sucked in that his game is just immaculate right now outside of the putter. That's a huge if. But this is a guy that I think would be taking serious money and serious noise if he was just putting average lately. He won at the Players, as you mentioned, but lately it was just been a disaster on the green. So maybe this type of surface neutralizes that. there's nobody I'd rather have with an iron in their hand right now. He's just been unbelievable on the approach. So I certainly have started plenty of lineups there. The guy that I didn't know what to do at the beginning of the week, and I'll be honest, I still don't know what to do with, is DJ. He seems good to go. All reports are injury-wise, no big deal. What do you do with him, though? He's kind of been stuck in neutral for a while now. It hasn't been, top form for him.
Did you see his comments about, oh yeah, I have a TaylorMade putter, and the guy asked him which one? He's like, I don't know, it says TaylorMade on it.
Yeah, that's he said it was silver with a white grip. That's what he described. I love DJ in that regard.
I can tell you it's a Spider X just by knowing it, but what a salesman, what a guy to have in the world of golf. Just what a genius, what an absolute genius. But I've actually, fun story. I'll give you a quick little sidebar, but back when he was suspended on tour, I got to play in a skins game against him, and I shot 68. He shot 62 and absolutely took all of my money. Well, there were like 20 other guys in the skins game, but Rustic Canyon Golf Course in Mar Park, California. It's pretty unbelievable to just see him in the group ahead of me. And it's like watching his, there's this 320-yard par 4, number 3 at Rustic, and he hit 2 iron on. I'm hitting all I can driver to try to get there. And it was one of the dumber things I've ever witnessed. So that was an enjoyable experience. He bought us all beer afterwards. Thanks so much, DJ. But actually a little bit more personable in person when the cameras aren't on, but not the brightest tool in the shed, that's for sure.
Wow.
I think that could actually bode well for him this week, just where, we talk about major scarring. He could have a ton of it, but he's overcome that multiple times, winning at Augusta, winning his US Open, despite the penalty that's now changed in the rules of golf because of him. A guy that I think if there was anybody equipped to just show up at a random golf tournament and come out of nowhere and win, I mean, for the love of God, he shot 84 last year and didn't even care and just went on one of the all-time heaters last summer. So I have no concerns getting to DJ whatsoever. Maybe other people are, but I think for me, it's more of just, I'm surprised to see what Rory's ownership is coming in at. And if I'm going to look at it in a vacuum of okay, they're the identical numbers, I think I'll just take the guy that's proven to be able to win here. That's coming off of a win 2 weeks ago, and I have a better idea of his form. I'd rather just side with that for 600 more than the identical ownership on a big unknown.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at best available in a lot of these situations in terms that the ownership's not going to make a big difference. So I have no problem with DJ. I do prefer JT, and I kind of prefer Rahm. I've been holding on with Rahm. Hasn't been great, but it hasn't been bad enough where I'm not worried. So it's kind of a macro buy there. Not really on Bryson. And then the last guy I want to ask you about, of course, is Spieth, who's been playing fantastic. Do you think he can handle this course? Obviously, we know his short game can, but will his off the tee game be gobbled up?
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, over the course of the last 50 rounds, you have Jordan Spieth 121st in strokes game off the tee on the PGA Tour, 89th over the course of the last 24. So even in this magnificent run that he's been on, he has not been good. He's been basically middle of the road to back of the road amongst elite players, by far the worst off the tee. And as you said, I think that he makes sense to group in depending on what skill sets you're pairing him with, but not a bomber, not somebody that I don't know. The ownership just scares me off right away. I'm not a Jordan Spieth guy. I know we've got our guy Jason Rosslin, who totally is, and he will not be looking kindly on my words that I am saying here, but I'm going to have basically no Jordan Spieth this week, and I actually feel okay with it. Maybe it's me digging for stats to go in and basically be like, oh, well, I'm looking for good drivers of the golf ball, and he's going to be super popular and I'm going to get off. But I think that there's enough other pieces of chalk that I like at cheaper spots. And I think the win equity that I'm getting with Rory, with JT, with, John Rahm, I feel pretty good about that section of players. And Jordan Spieth, I mean, he just does everything in a way that for me isn't as quantifiable. Not a phenomenal ball striker. His irons have been really, really hot, and I will give him that. There's no question. But what are you doing with Jordan?
Again, I built for a lot of different scenarios. So certainly when I built for around the green, Jordan Spieth comes up a lot, and I did click him into some of those lineups. But I like certainly Rahm and JT more. And as we move, it's a perfect segue to the leveraged value to this 9K range. There are guys that I like there, and starting with Xander, who does everything well. He's obviously a very good driver of the ball. He's always there. Hasn't won his fair share yet, but that's going to come. Now he is popular. He's always popular. And for that reason, I don't have a ton of leverage, but I will say Xander is not a lot of times he's a very aggressive fade of mine. That's not the case. I am going to him in spots. I am starting lineups with him in certain situations. That's what I wanted to ask you. How comfortable are you omitting the top 6 and saying, you know what, I'm just going to build with the tournament without these guys on certain lineups?
I mean, I feel really good about, I guess I don't understand the question completely. I know that Xander is a guy that I want to have in my lineups for sure this week. We've seen many majors over the course of the last couple of years where he's been 30% plus. Like by Xander Schauffele terms, this is kind of moderate chalk. Like,
fair.
I mean, it's strange to say that, but getting Schauffele at like 20% makes me much more interesting. He's sneaky long off the tee, hitting it over 310 over the course of the last 6 events. So we're looking and trending well. He checks that box. Somebody who can get super hot with the putter can get super hot with the irons. I mean, he's shown up in majors here multiple times. And again, there's been so many times where I've had to just make that kind of a fade because it's golf and he's been 30% and he just has burned me multiple times over the course of the last couple of years. So I'm happy to be going the direction of being a little bit overweight to the field for the first time in maybe my life on Xander. And it's always just been an ownership thing.
Oh yeah. There's 2 problems. A, he's always very popular. B, when I play him, he plays terrible. That's something I can't fix.
That's fun. I love golf. Don't you? It's great.
It's just, I don't know why I can't get him right. I try, but really kind of what I was going for there is, so are you comfortable just omitting the 10K and up range on some lineups and starting in the 9s?
God, no, I'm probably not.
Okay.
I know that there was some talk from other places, some other sharp people around our industry where, you know, you could start with Morikawa, Schauffele, Hovland, Webb Simpson has started to gain some traction here again. He's back to double digits in ownership. I mean, there's definitely enough pieces where you can do that and balance it, but something tells me that the winner more than likely is coming from here, or there could be some long shot. There's a couple long shots that I have on my betting card that I feel pretty good about that are much, much cheaper, but I don't know. There's a lot of birdies and opportunities that can exist. I'm not sure what those weekend conditions will look like entirely yet, but I know that there's going to still be somebody in every single one of these golf tournaments that goes out and makes a point to show that these are the best players in the world. Somebody's going to be double digit under par, even in these conditions. And I feel like by not being in that top 10K range, I'm basically omitting the best chances to do that. I don't feel great about Spieth or DeChambeau. I'm lighter on them this week. But Rahm, DJ, Justin Thomas, Rory, it's going to be hard for me not to start most of my builds, like almost all of them, with at least one of them.
It's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I do have some balanced builds, but majority I tried to go get one of the top tiers. We did have super chat. Appreciate that from D Owens 89. Is DJ good leverage in large field GPP or just use Rory? So just giving you a sneak peek. Rory, we have projected for 8.8% ownership. DJ, 8.4%. So you are just choosing best available between the two. If you like Rory better, use him. You're not going to leverage more with DJ than Rory this week, which is kind of crazy. And that's a little surprising that I'm saying that, but that seems to be the case. So I would just go for best available. As we work down in this 9K range, we've got Hovland that you mentioned. The 2 guys I want to talk about a lot, though, are Reed and Cantlay. So Reed is a guy, kind of does it atypically, really good scrambler, really good putter. Cantlay has been terrible lately. There's no way around it. Are you willing to go to Cantlay at moderate ownership, considering the recent form?
Yeah, I think if I'm going to go to one of the two, I think I'm going to be signing on Cantlay. Patrick Reed, I was looking at a couple of the swings he was making at the Wells Fargo. He's getting pretty laid off at the top of the swing, which basically means that he's having to save everything with his hands. And if you get in windy conditions and your timing's a little bit off, you run into some major problems where you could see him start to spray it all over the map. He had pretty poor numbers on the long irons there at that Wells Fargo as well. Ended up kind of hiding that coming in with he's a phenomenal putter. And you want to talk about somebody who has major prowess and can kind of get it done and just put a number on the board. He's still going to be one of them. But Cantlay, I'm going to be kind of in a spot where you can buy low on him for the first time in a long time as well. Very good strokes gained around the greens. That's kind of a key part of that grouping. I think putting Cantlay and Jordan Spieth together, if it's going to be one of those golf tournaments where it's going to get erratic like that, and doesn't really matter where you're putting it as long as you're in play to some extent, and then you're just making pars and getting around. I think that I could see a path where they both are very, very competitive here, but I'm not super high on either one this week. But do you have a preference?
No, I'm kind of in line. I really took some small edges this week with some of these guys. Like they're projecting around 10 to 15 to, maybe a little less. That's around what I have. I'm comfortable landing on Cantlay. I don't really worry about the form, to be honest. And Reed is someone I always tend to get to just because of the way he plays. So when I needed these guys, I went to them, but it really was about the build. If I was going for pure upside, I would go to Hovland, even though he's very chalky. I can leverage with my remaining guys. I didn't have a problem with that. So it's just all about a case by case basis. I'm not going to Webb. He's the one guy between the neck, which I don't think is a huge concern, but between that, his off the tee game, these greens maybe neutralizing putting, I was a little hesitant to go there.
Yeah, I'm torn on what to do with him. He's kind of the one guy in this range. So again, I had more Patrick Reed earlier in the day, and I've kind of come off of that and switched places and gone to more Cantlay. But Webb Simpson, I could totally see him going out and just burning me like right off the bat in this spot. Like he's the one scary fade. I'm not that scared of like Cantlay or Reed going out and flat out winning a golf tournament here. Webb Simpson, we haven't seen him here for a little bit, but even still, like it's not like his current form has been that poor. It's maybe poor by the standards we expect for Webb Simpson being one of the top players in the world, like top 10 at the RBC Heritage, Pete Dye, South Carolina golf course, the Masters top 12 there, T12 total, the concession. I mean, if you throw out that one Players Championship and you have one bad round, shot the 75 in the second round, hasn't been that bad of late. Going back to the Sony, which, doesn't really have any correlation for me here, but top 5 there. So he's somebody that just makes me feel uncomfortable with the fade. I'm half below the field right now, and I think I'm probably going to stick there. But God, does it not feel good? And if you told me that you wanted to get a little bit more than the field of him, I wouldn't like bat an eye at that. We know the kind of putting upside he can provide too.
Yeah. Again, I think this is a week more than ever. Just really be cognizant of who's in your lineup already, not just from an ownership standpoint, but from a skills perspective. So, but obviously, where the money's going to be made is in the mid range, and that's when we go to make the cut. Before I do that, though, I have some news for everybody. We got some things going on. It's obviously the NBA playoffs because apparently the Spurs are coming back. We've got the NHL playoffs. Golf, of course, is in full season, so it's a great time to sign up for Awesemo Plus. And we have a promo, 25% off of an Awesemo Plus Platinum monthly package with the promo code Gold Rush. All one word, all caps, GOLDRUSH. Like I'm in the spelling bee. And that's going to give you full access to all the premium content, all the tools, player projections, ownership projections, premium Slack, lineup builder, and much more. The offer is only valid through 5/20, which is tomorrow. So go on and do that. It's a great time to get in. You get a full month. But if you are, you want to just grind NBA Showdown, it's more Eric's speed than mine. We have a package just for that. And it's for these playing games. Promo code PLAY-IN, play-in. Pretty simple. Get an extra week of NBA Express completely free. It's 2 weeks of NBA Express for $4.95. Super good deal. It's going to give you access to lineup builder, ownership rankings, the big board, player values, all that stuff with the promo code PLAY-IN. So we have 2 really good ones. Go to our Twitter. You can find out more information. If you have any questions, of course, just hit us up. But that one through 5/21. So a lot of opportunities to become part of the team. Certainly want you guys inside the ropes, but let's get to make the cut. You know the drill. You're a veteran. 3 names. Who is going to survive? We've got Daniel Berger. We've got Cam Smith. We've got Tony Finau. This is the upper 8s. What do you make of that range?
I mean, Daniel Berger is the guy that kind of sticks out in that grouping for me. I think that he was the guy that I was always going to be highest on. I'm freaked out a little bit by the ownership. And if you head over to our top golfers tool right now, you're getting the least amount of leverage in the entire field on Daniel Berger. I guess he's tied right now with Abraham Answer, who we'll talk about later. Shocking that I would like the 2 chalkiest dudes in both of those ranges. They just really stick out for me just from a long-term form perspective, recent form perspective. Hard for me not to like both of those guys, but Daniel Berger specifically, I think that I'm still going to be rated about the field, and I'm going to be kind of living with that result. He feels like a tough fade. We know that he's been in decent enough form here where he could go out and just really make you regret a fade in any kind of way, shape, or form. Ended up coming off of the third here at the Byron Nelson last week. No correlation to this golf course whatsoever, but obviously been playing very well. Tony Finau, God, I'd never know what to do with him. He's just been so disappointing, but definitely has win equity. We've seen multiple top twos at difficult golf courses. I mean, the Genesis, the Farmers, back-to-back earlier this year. If he were to find anything with a little bit of a putting streak, I mean, we could be looking at Tony Finau with a trophy on Sunday, and I wouldn't be surprised. So another guy that I'm not going to necessarily make any kind of a big stand one way or the other. I think I'm making a strong enough stand against Jordan Spieth, making a strong enough stance against Webb Simpson at this point in time that there's enough guys that I'm fading that I can play these guys like Berger and Finau and not have too much ownership in my lineups.
Yeah, I'm Berger. I mean, obviously he's going to be very popular. I'm not going to get over. It's not like he can't do it. I just worry a little about if this plays really long. His more how I envision him is where he's had success, the St. Jude's of the world, Pebble, like those type of tracks. Not exactly something like this, but listen, the ball striking is good. He doesn't really have a split in terms of difficult versus he's just good all the time when he's healthy. Finau has not been as bad as Cantlay, but he's been pretty bad lately. I do think it's a good course for him. I know he never wins, but I've said this multiple times this week. These guys, they don't win until they win, and then they rip a couple off. Paul Casey couldn't win, and then he won Valspar multiple years in a row, and he's contended. Cam Smith's a tough one for me. I don't love it. I see why people are playing him. He's unbelievable with the weather and his ability to work in and out, but he's another off the tee liability. So that's a theme I'm kind of sticking with. But next range, we're going across the pond. We got Tommy Fleetwood. We've got Ty Hatton. We've got Justin Rose.
Did I see you write up Tommy Fleetwood this week? Is that what I saw?
I bet Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh my God.
75-1.
What's wrong with you as a person?
I have a lot of issues.
Okay. So do you want to talk through this a little bit? So Tommy Fleetwood, we saw a little bit of life here. I'm looking at the strokes gain data at the Wells Fargo. I see a little bit of life. So not completely dead in the water. That's one golf tournament. I haven't seen anything else here for, I don't know, the last 6 months that I really want to be investing in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tommy Fleetwood has been a frustrating roster for most of the year. He did show life at Wells Fargo, and I did take maybe more than I should into what he did, and it's been a while, but at Shinnecock, at the Open before. I mean, this is a guy that's done it in adverse conditions, in wind, in a lot of things. Now, if you don't think he's the same player, and I think that that's a very real, distinct possibility, that's not going to be good data. But if he does have that in here, I can get to Fleetwood in tournament settings, but do you prefer the other Euros in that range? I mean, what do you look at in this low 8K range?
I mean, Louis Oosthuizen is kind of the guy that I've been siding with constantly. I love him. He's one of those guys whose strokes gain total sticks out. Strokes gain, we're starting to see a hot putter the last 24 rounds of golf for that guy. I mean, we are bordering on the spot where I can't imagine a world where Louis Oosthuizen isn't going to start ripping off a tournament or two again here. Just my favorite golf swing on tour. Very good demeanor for a major championship. We've seen him win major championships. Everything kind of sets up for me to kind of like make a strong stance with the South African there and feel pretty good about that. And then Tyrrell Hatton as well. I think that this is, if you want to talk demeanor, the exact opposite end of the spectrum for sure. There's no question there. But I think that this also, another guy that I kind of like with long irons, we've seen him be successful at golf courses like Bay Hill and other places that kind of go back and forth with what you really want to draw out of it. But like, I think that this kind of is a good spot for him. I think he's probably coming in about appropriately owned. I'm a little bit over the field on it, but pretty much looking at him, strokes gain total looks great there. Strokes gain tee to green of late looks great. Strokes gain approach, almost a full shot there per round. So I really like everything with Hatton.
Yeah, Hatton, I mean, his only knock is he hasn't really done it in the majors, but that'll come. I have no problem with him. I actually like a lot of the English players, whether it's Fitzy, Fleetwood. I'm a little concerned about Rose. He's one. Same. I don't really see it, to be honest. All right, couple more batches, and then a little special in about 5 minutes. We are going to bring on a special guest. Chad, it's going to get a little dangerous in here, but we're going to keep going. We got chalk answer, kind of chalk Paul Casey, and then always chalk Corey Connors. What do you do with these band of Muppets?
Hey, same thing that we talked about with Corey Connors, where it's like, oh, I can get him under 20% this week. That seems much more fun to me. So I'm not shorting Corey Connors this week from a pure ownership perspective, where he's going to be close to 30% because there's nowhere else to go. So I'm over the field on Corey Connors. Paul Casey, like that guy, sitting at 7,700. I believe Answer was the other guy you brought up, who I was well over the field, and now I'm starting to trim it down because I don't know. 23% for a guy in that range who hits it pretty short. We know that he can be he's basically going to be one of the most accurate drivers of the golf ball in this entire field. So if it really gets ruckus, it's going to be really nice to be siding with him and not necessarily have to be looking at bombers there. But I'm going to group him in with some of my driving accuracy guys and kind of do some builds that way. Also has that advantageous tee time, it looks like. So he tees off at 12:52. Out of everybody in that range, sitting from Louis down, like Louis is on the opposite end of the draw of where I want him to be, but I'm just going to bet on the talent there. But you've got Abraham Answer there. Shane Lowry has a 2:09 tee time on that first round, and Joaquin Niemann 1:09. I like grouping some of those guys together, being kind of my top 7K builds, and all of them have very nice win equity. I don't feel like I'm losing out on a ton from the top end things. And, Joaquin Niemann hasn't been as impressive. Like, he hasn't been beating down the doors for everybody here, but he's been really, really good. And it's kind of surprising to see him getting the ownership that he is right now, where it's like, generally we've seen him into the 20s as well. So I'm happy to be over the field on Joaquin in this spot too.
Yeah, I mean, this range is absolutely loaded. There's no doubt. Chad just brought up Sanjay Im. He's another guy. He's a little higher. He's more in that 8, but I have no problem there. Neiman, I think, again, that's if you don't think he gets eaten up by his around the green game, everything else checks out immaculately. Corey Connors is the one that I struggle with because I do think, again, he could be exposed. He's kind of like Neiman around the green. He does get a hole in one every time, so that helps. But I like Casey a lot. He's just, he should have he didn't do anything wrong. Morikawa just beat him. He was unbelievable at Harding Park in the PGA last year. He's a ball striker's dream. Again, he doesn't have it all. Obviously, a short game can go away quickly, but I like how he's playing, and I like that price tag. Couple more for the make the cut, and then we're going to get into some deeper dives and some other things. We've got Keegan. We've got Sam Burns, who's going to feel underpriced off his hot streak, and then another Euro and Matt Wallace. I like Matt Wallace. What say you?
I like Matt Wallace a lot. He's just put himself in contention here so many times. Much weaker fields, not worried about that. Really like Matt Wallace in this spot. Sam Burns, but kind of surprised that, again, he should go in the bucket with Rory, where I'm surprised that they're not getting more ownership than what they are. But I think that speaks to the sharpness of this field a little bit, like in golf DFS in general at this point in time. But yeah, back to back, if you're going to talk about hottest players in the field, 3 consecutive top 5 sounds pretty good to be investing in. I'm right, like a little bit below the field. Another guy that you could absolutely make the case. I mean, he goes out and hits at 317, 318. I'd be fine having some Sam Burns shares, but I'm not going to be going nuts on him here, because what happens with a hot streak is eventually it stops being a hot streak. So I like seeing that his game is in nice form right now. He's obviously extremely confident and playing well, but we'll kind of see how he pans out this week. I'm not going to be making a strong stand one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to be over. He's playing great. There's no doubt. This is kind of a different animal. And Sam Burns to me is built to go low. Byron Nelson, I see it. If the winner is 12 under, I'm not sure that Sam Burns is built for that. Now, he's got a lot of talent. This isn't Bermuda either, but we'll see. At north of 15%, there's absolutely no chance that I am over. Last batch, and then we are going to bring on our good buddy, Jason Roslin, to kind of close out the show with us for the last 20 minutes. We've got Siwoo, we've got Kokrak, and we've got my boy Emiliano Grillo.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I was getting a ton of Grillo early on as I was going through projections and firing it off, and it makes sense because you're basically looking at a ball striking extraordinaire. My initiation, again, we really bonded over Emiliano Grillo when I picked him outright, and I would love to do that again for you, but I just can't. Not this week. Not going to be a spot for me where I want to go crazy on him by any means. Siwoo, kind of a write-off for me. Everything checks out. Looks pretty darn good there. Siwoo over the last 24 tournaments, 15th on tour, 0.6 strokes gained per round. Everything looks good. Phenomenal around the green a little bit. Well, by his standards better. So 49th on tour in that over the last 6 weeks as well. I'd be fine with it, but not somebody that I'm like super excited to be investing in. Jason Kokrak, I'm having a tough time with. So can you please talk to me whether or not, like, I'm either going to be all or nothing on him. He just kind of feels like that kind of a guy for me this week, and I don't even know which way to go.
If it was one of those two, it would be nothing for me, to be honest.
Me too.
But his putter's been good. He's always a good tee to green player. He's going to be exposed around the green. He's in that batch of players, similar to Griot. Griot's a much purer ball striker, in my opinion. So you know what you're getting. It's one of those. Siwoo to me is the toughest. I had a discussion in our premium Slack about him, and I totally see, the more I look into, I see where Siwoo makes sense here. I do think, again, in certain wind conditions, he could have a problem. His Pete Dye success is not at courses like this per se, but Siwoo is a good player, and he's very, very appealing in terms of a price tag.
Can we talk about that for a second too? Because I think, like, I'm having a tough. So there's a guy, Stuart Sink, who's right below, that I'm kind of in love with this week, but I've been kind of talking myself a little bit further off the ledge. I already bet him, so I'm already invested in the guy and his success. But looking at Pete Dye courses or looking at the RBC or anything like that, we haven't really seen that many majors being hosted at Pete Dye golf courses. It's basically Whistling Straits in this one. You're looking at a small cluster of data, and those just play significantly longer than any other Pete Dye golf course that you're basically going to be running into week in, week out on tour. Like we've talked about TPC Sawgrass, like it's not on the longer end of the spectrum by any means. Definitely more of a target golf course if you talk about it from those general terms. Talking about RBC, it's kind of its own beast where it's shorter. Is there anything that you're really mining out? Because I'm trying to find a course comp that isn't anything like that. And we have a different grass type, but like 7,800 is 7,800. And I know it'll play closer to 7,500, 7,600 for most of these days, but I'm having a tough time also understanding what I'm supposed to do with that.
In terms of a comp for this course?
Yeah, what the comp should be, and like how much I should be weighting how you played at the RBC or other Pete Dye golf courses.
Oh yeah, see, that's the problem. So I don't think like Harbor Town is indicative of what we're going to see. I get some of that, but that's a narrow technical track. These are pretty generous fairways. I don't think there is a single comp. I took a lot of stuff in like Dubai for the Euros, and I took stuff. I took Waste Management a lot here. I looked at Quail Hollow. I certainly looked at Harbor Town, but I don't think it's indicative of anything. I looked at Firestone a little going back, the WGC, the Bridgestone, because that's a mammoth course. So I mixed and matched. But you know what? That's no better time than any. Let's bring on Jason Roslin. If he's here, if he's ready to go, we'll bring him in, and we will ask him this as well as we go to the deep dives. We've still got the 6K range, and that's really why I wanted to have him on the show and have some fun, because there's a lot of names here that we really need to get to. If you want to play Rory, you've mentioned that you want to possibly leverage with one of these guys. You need to find some cheapies, and I don't even know who these guys are. I know Jason does, though.
I sure do, though. Let me tell you.
What's going on, buddy?
Somebody turn the mic down a little bit. Oh, my God.
I'm here. Excited. I got to make sure you know that I'm here, E-Money. All right?
Love it. Love it, my dude. How you doing?
Hey, man, it is the night before majors. I always say it's like Christmas Eve, and it really is. The fact that, I just get to bust out these Millie Maker lineups as much as I want. It's pretty great. Can't complain.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but perfect timing, because we're about to get somewhat egregious. But again, you have to kind of do that. So we'll start with you, Mr. Roslin. When you look at your lineups, how low are you willing to go? And when you look at the upper sixes, is it Ryan Palmer? Is it someone else that you think maybe is a little underpriced?
Yeah, honestly, I'm looking at Thomas Pieters at 6,800 in this level right away. Here's the thing. He's shown us pretty much everything we need to. If he makes the cut last week and say comes in the top 15, all of us are going to be talking about him at 6,800 this week, right? We've seen the upside pretty much all throughout his career, except for that little blip. And then he had a child, and all of a sudden now it's back. So he's got the tee time I'm looking for, and he's got the low ownership. So if I'm going to 6,800, it's him. And I guess for a more egregious play, Wyndham Clark has been superb around the greens. So at 6,600, I might dabble down there a little bit. And then Ben, JT Poston, I talked to you
Oh
about
my
him
God.
yesterday. Have I got you to buy in and money to Eric?
Oh my God.
You
I
in?
knew we brought you on for a reason. I knew.
You two
JT Poston,
slappies.
I am here to party. Hit the irons well 1 week, my dude. Hit the irons well 1 week and it's over.
He did. He
I
did
know
last
one time,
finally.
but again, I'm looking for it again. Part 2, the sequel.
Joe Val has 16 rebounds in the first half. That's
Oh, so
disturbing.
I hit my over on. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
I'm
Getting
pretty
back
happy.
to reality, I want to ask you, we'll stick with you, Eric, real quick, because I'm with you. I get Peters, no doubt. What are you doing with the South Africans? I want to dive into Schwartzel and I want to dive into Grace. So Grace is someone, he won on one of the island courses that uses these greens. It was kind of a resurgence. Charles been fantastic since the Masters, Eric. So do you find yourself looking at them at 68? Or is it Bez? I'll throw in another South African. Can he handle it off the tee? What do you do with these guys who have some experience, plenty of experience on PGA Tour, but they are obviously somewhat experienced in Europe as well?
Yeah, I like the Bez draw a little bit better. So Charles teeing off at 817 on round 1. We're looking 140 round 2. And if he's going to be teeing off, I think, in the worst of it. I don't know. It looks like it's going to be a crosswind at the moment, but it could be a little bit in on that front 9. It's hard to really tell. I'm trying to dig a little bit, but if we're going to go on that narrative that it's going to be on the other side of it, you want to be where it's Thursday PM, Friday AM. I'd rather go to BZ at 6,800. Decent enough. And I love the Thomas Peters call as well. It really comes down to just him finding it with the putter. And I think that if we're going to take the Euro narrative as well, where this could just be a spot where a little bit slower greens because it's a coastal course where they can't get him slicked up as much. He's struggled on some of these US Open tracks where we've seen him more -4 strokes gained putting the last 2 US Opens he's appeared, and at the Byron Nelson a little quicker. So I like taking the shots more on BZ and going to more Thomas Peters.
Boy, I'm going to get into trouble in this range. I mean, you just look, you've got those guys. And now I'm going to take a completely different direction to you, Mr. Roslin, with guys like Stuart Sink. So there are some veteran guys who can work their way around here. Kuchar is here as well. You've got Zach Johnson, Molinari. Where do you find that balancing act? You've got the young gun Euros, and then you've got these guys with plenty of experience. Are you comfortable clicking guys like Stuart Sink in?
Stuart Sink for me, I'm in. I think that everything has been showing me. It looks like ownership gonna come in rather low. It's not gonna get too egregious. So I think a 2x on Stuart Sink. He's earned that, even if he might not be in the best draw. He's also shown that he's probably one of the better win players. I mean, God, he won an Open Championship. You've got to be good in the win to win one of those. So I think there's some value there. I think the guy that I would be looking to fade here is Ryan Palmer. As good of a season as he's had the last couple of weeks hasn't looked extremely polished. It doesn't look terrible, but it hasn't looked as polished as I'd want it. And Stuart Sink, I mean, hey, he's coming off that win at Harbortown and, pretty much everything going his way. So if I had to go for the veteran route, I'd say Stuart Sink. I'm out on Zach Johnson. I mean, I get that he lives a couple islands down, but I'm out there.
Islands.
Yeah, a couple islands down. Sure. Just hop on the mega yacht from Jeff Bezos and be there in 20 minutes. I think that Brandon Grace, though, is a name that you can get behind, though. Pretty good this year. Obviously shown that he can compete in majors. What does he have? The low in a major at 62. So, yeah, I think Brandon Grace I can get in on.
I can down. We'll make that one unanimous. I have some South African love. All right. This guy, he gets his own individual ask because he was just brought up in chat by friend of the show, Joey. He was my favorite play last week. I felt like a genius through 54 holes. Felt like an idiot through 72 holes, which is pretty standard. It's Alex Noren. He's 6,600, Eric. Is he salary relief or is it a trap? And you think he gets gobbled up off the tee?
God, it's so hard because, again, we've talked about how exceptional of a putter he was when he came over from Europe. If we're going to get that narrative going again, just he can get so hot in that regard. Still gained right around 4 strokes putting and then 5 at Valspar. It's trending well there. But yeah, and Tita Green, he wasn't so bad last week either. RBC Heritage, given he's not going to be hitting as many drivers over there as what he's going to be hitting this week. But I think if he can stay somewhat neutral off the tee here, 1.7, I guess, at the Byron Nelson there, I like going to a little bit of Noren here. God, if he had come through last week, I was so heavy on him after you talked him up and couldn't have gone much better through 54. So as you said, let's hop right back on this week.
You know,
Ben,
I'm going to him. It's up to you, man. You're the swing vote.
Ben, I mean, did you see who he's playing with? Because I know you like to build this way sometimes. So I think this might intrigue you even more, and it does get me. It's Stewart Cink and Harris English. I mean,
that sounds terrible. I mean, those are I hate those guys, but yeah, that is kind of interesting. They're in the morning, are they not?
Yeah, they are. It's 153 on day 2 on T10, which is going to be, honest to God, from the way I've been looking at it, it looks like it's going to be the toughest tee time there is. But with that being said, if I'm totally wrong about the wind, yeah, I have no problem with Noren. I've clicked his name a couple of times.
Yeah, he's going to be playing 17 on like Friday afternoon. That'll be good.
Not ideal.
Hitting driver.
Yeah, I was just about to say hitting driver off the par 3. Yeah,
hitting driver and leaving it short.
I do think, for me, it's again, there is an element to me where I build like macro, and Noren has been playing better than his results. He was close last week and he came in 21st. There's a lot of people who didn't play PGA last week and they click the box where they say, Noren 21st. He was a lot better than the 21st best player at Byron Nelson. He was in that tournament and he did not close. I will go to him. But we got to keep working down a little. Dedrey's there, HV3, Jason. You mentioned Clark. How low are you willing to? I know you mentioned Boston, but like, is there anyone else? Is EVR in play for Telly? Dean Burmeister was brought up by chat. Are you taking any of these guys, or do you think, you know what, you got to consolidate a little?
I really can't get to many of them. Clark was just about as low as I would go. Then JT Poston snuck into a few lineups. And then as the week went on, I kept clicking a guy at 6,400 that just won on a coastal track and certainly talks up a big game. And I love his personality. It's Joel Damon, 6,400 for the bucket hat, man. He says that he's a good win player. I mean, how much do you want to listen to a pro golfer? But here's what I'll say. He pegs himself for a top 20 this week. He thinks it's a great bet. That's what he suggested. Mm-hmm. And our buddy and colleague over here, Max, also likes him. I saw him just tweet that out about 20 minutes ago. So Joel Damon, 6,400, definitely in the player pool.
You on board?
I'm on board. Yeah, definitely. We're starting to see some positive directions out of him. Getting through at Corrales on this exact grass type. So I wouldn't necessarily be trying to factor in Corrales with that strength of the field was just garbage. But getting a W is getting a W on this grass type. So I feel good about that. Seeing a top 20 at the Wells Fargo. He's been basically coasting since that W. He's just having fun living his life. And the golf game seems to be in decent enough shape the last month and a half. So I'm happy to take some shots on it too. It's not like you can just jam into 10K guys for free. So you got to play some of these dudes on the bottom end. And if it's not going to be our hero, the postman, I'm fine going his direction too.
I have not seen the new Mortal Kombat, but I can get behind Joel Damon. He was not in the pool, but maybe I'll throw him in now.
It wasn't that bad. Okay, we're getting the thumbs down from Jordan. It was not that
pretty
bad.
I'm not gonna lie.
It was bad, but there were some fun fatalities. There were some interesting things going on.
Okay. That's good.
Didn't catch it myself. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I'm not. I was gonna watch it and then I continued living my life. But bets of the week. Here we go. Anything in the betting market. If you have not, we have a new article here at Awesemo, and it's a collaboration of us three and some of the sharpest minds in the industry, Alex and Steven, a bunch of guys, Max, of course, dropping their favorite bets and some of their bets from their betting cards each week. It's a quick read. It's an easy read. So go check that out. But is there anything, Eric, that you didn't put in that article? And certainly I know you bet a bunch of different things. What say you of the bets this week?
So my favorite bet of the entire week, and this is strange because I know Jason and I are going to be different on the top end of our golfers, but it seems we're on the same guys in the 7K and 6K range. My favorite bet of the week is Stewart Cink, 150-1 to go outright and win. I think that there's enough correlation. If he can just find a way to get it in play. What, 150-1?
That's
it's a gigantic
hot
number.
Take.
No, 150. No, so he's been sneaky long. He's hitting it just over 309 yards. We saw they were talking about this 3-wood driver combo. He had a lot of 3-woods when he was at Hilton Head and watched pretty much that whole round front to back, but talked about how he had been finding some stuff with both of his coaches, been working putting. We know that weird twerk that he's doing with the putter here at the moment in time, but has been pretty darn good. I'm doing an each way with him. I love betting Stewart Cink, another Pete Dye golf course. I'm not trying to factor in and say that it's the same type of golf course by any means, but never been that strong off the tee. And now I think just having the distance and being able to get it out there, if he can get it in play, period, we're seeing him be a little bit better around the green, because that's been his big bugaboo over the course of the last year. In the last 6 weeks, it's been improved. It's not great. It's not phenomenal by any means, but he could be very, very sneaky as a long shot.
I mean, I can't respond after that. What does your betting card look like? Do you have any bets? Are you going that aggressive? Because that is a season maker if you can close that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. Can I give you a different one? My bet of the week. It's not to win. It's not a winner. I am shorting Bryson DeChambeau this week.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yes.
I'm not going to say to miss the cut. I like another bet a
Matchups?
little bit better. He's matched up against Jordan Spieth.
Okay.
And Spieth is plus 100. It's an auto click for me when I saw that. I don't think Bryson gets into the top 30 this week. Maybe he gets through to the cut, but I don't think his distance is going to be as much of an advantage here at Kiowa, even though it's 7,900 yards. It's just the way I'm playing it this week. It's the way that I see it. Could be totally wrong, but I'm shorting him. If you find another way to short him, matched up against any other good player, Rahm, even DJ, JT, I don't care who he's matched up against, I would short him. And if you do think he's going to miss the cut, I've seen like plus 300 on that. So that's not a bad line.
I like it. I'm gonna piggyback on that. I have no problem actually shorting Bryson, but the guy I'm doing, I think, is even more obvious. You're maybe not getting as good of a payoff. I'm shorting Brooks. I think Brooks is going to miss the cut. I just don't think he's healthy. You're getting 2-1 on him to miss the cut here. He has shown absolutely nothing. He played at Byron Nelson and he got cut, and he's trying to spin that as that was a good thing almost, that he got some reps in. He played 2 days of golf in a circus tournament. So I'm not really there. If you want to be very aggressive and pay juice, DJ and him are lined up. I think DJ absolutely crushes him in the tournament matchup. You have to lay significant juice, but I don't think Brooks is healthy, and I don't think it's unreasonable to just back him in that regard. So I'm shorting Brooks in all facets, including the betting market this week.
Yep. Love it. Absolutely love it. Both, I think both are great shorts, and Bryson DeChambeau plays very high variance golf as it is. You could go very, very poorly for you, and it can go very, very well for you. And for people to factor him in, he's not the consistent top 5, top 10 guy. I mean, this is going to be something where I could very easily see investing in a couple of missed cuts here.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, Eric, any big fades for you? I know Ben brought up Koepka, I brought up Bryson. Anybody up in that range that you're just saying he's not going to make my lineups this week?
Yeah, so Webb Simpson was a guy that was off there, and I mean, I'm hiding from you right now because I know that I'm about to get a lot of shade thrown my way. I have virtually no Jordan Spieth. I get it. I understand that he's just been he's been a salvation basically on the greens here. He's the chosen one. God loves him more than the rest of us, and so he makes 40 footers on the daily. So whatever, I get it. But off the tee, good God, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. And I think if it gets windy and whatever else, I feel pretty good that he's going to be. I know that it's a forgiving enough fairways out here on this track, but if it gets windy, he could have some major issues off the tee. And so I have to be lighter compared to some of these other stripers up top.
It's fair enough. I'm definitely not going to buy in, but
I split the difference.
But
so.
at least, I appreciate the take nonetheless. Yeah, Ben, what are you doing with Spieth? It looks like, 15% ownership.
Yeah, I'm kind of there. I think it's fine. I'm not jamming him. He's just, there's too much uncertainty for me to not think that there's a chance this course just plays where you can get away with a lot off the tee and he can really lean on what he does better than everyone. And him and Reed can coast and do that. Now there's other scenarios. I think it could be a problem, but yeah, I'm on Spieth. Xander's going to be my problem as always, because I am playing him. So
you're playing him this week. Okay.
Yeah, I got some Xander, but all right. We are here, chat. First of all, got a lot of people because it's a major and we appreciate the major crowd here. I know apparently Draftkings is broken. Sorry to everyone for that. I'm sure they'll fix it.
Yeah.
But if you can hit the like, we're going to have to push the likes up. It's a major show. We try to bring the best content that we can, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. But if you can hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Like I said, we have so many videos. We've got a ton of short form content that's coming out. Jason does a ton of it. Eric has been putting out, and he's going to be putting out more bets, more props, particularly on the NBA side. We got a lot coming up there, and it's a great way to build that bankroll. You take a couple, you steal some edges, then you fire in those large field tournaments. And you know what? You have a couple extra lineups to play with each week. So you can catch us certainly on the tip-off show each day. A lot of fun things here at Awesemo, but it's the best time of the show. This is the main reason why we had to bring Jason on. Oh boy, I'm trying to think in my mind who should go first. Do either of you want to go first in the hot takes?
This is I'm just living in your world. Like, we got to start with Jason.
We got
to let him go right off the bat.
Yep. Go ahead, Eric. You know what? You are going to go first.
Okay.
Set the pace. You've already said something crazy.
Yeah, the Stuart Sink one is pretty hot takey. I mean, I don't know how much.
Pretty hot take, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm betting him to win. How about my other winners? So I led with him, and I didn't really get to go down the rest of my card, but I have another guy, and I might be betting an exacta at this point in time because one Ben over there has gotten me into horse betting, and it is not going well, and I am mad at you, but whatever.
That's what happens.
Yeah, thanks. You're a great influence on my life. Love you too. Louis Oosthuizen wins the 2021 PGA Championship plus 8,000. Let's party.
Him and Sink in a playoff. Yeah, that's.
You got. And then, at least it's not Tom Watson. We can like him afterwards.
Yeah, that was truly insane. Poor Tom Watson. That would have been a great one. An all-timer. All right, my friend, do you want to go or you want me to go?
You could go. I guess that's fine.
Okay. I am going to go. There's a lot of different ways that I could go here in terms of crazy guys. This guy, I was trying to think. I was going to say Fleetwood wins, but I don't really want to do that. I do think he is live to win. I'm going to give you one guy. You know, a lot of times we throw out a bunch of names, but if you are looking for someone that truly is going to be under 1% owned, like a complete flyer, no one is going to be on him. Thomas Dedrey is a player. I know a lot of people don't know who this is. He's from Belgium. He is a kid who's got some experience over here, obviously at lesser events. He's played in WGC. He's made the cut at a US Open. He's not the longest hitter by any stretch, but he is accurate off the tee. I think that Thomas Dedrey in certain scenarios could be a guy that gets in the mix. I'm going to add him to my card for a top 10 and a top 20. You're going to get massive odds in those realms because this is a virtually unknown player. If you're playing a lot of lineups, is he worth maybe 2%, 3%? Sure. I wouldn't go crazy, but Thomas Dedrey is a guy that is in my player pool. And I think of all the Euros that are coming over that have no experience, you know, the Higos, the George Coetsiers, the Burmeisters, those types, you know, the Hoshino, Kuyana, all the Asians as well. I think there's a couple guys with some serious pedigree over in Asia. Chan
right there with
is here, your boy,
Takumi Kanaya is here.
Yeah.
You guys need to enunciate these words harder. I can't understand.
Joe Summerhays, who's got to be related to Daniel Summerhays. There's a lot of players down here. Thomas Dedrey is the name, though, I think that you could gravitate towards for a possible super sleeper. But again, be very careful. Like him in the betting card, though. So try to top Thomas Dedrey for us, my friend.
All right, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the leader after every single round. Are you ready for this?
What?
Yep.
Yep.
That's right. Hang on. Here we go. Yep. Pens out. Let's go.
18. After 18, Joel Damon leads at -5. Yep, that's the first round leader.
Oh, we're getting a number on it too?
Oh, yeah. This is I'm not going to give you the 36-hole number because I don't know what the wind's going to do on Friday, but I know who's going to be leading. Abraham Answer takes the 36-hole lead into the weekend. Okay, he's like one of the first off on Friday morning. He's going to get in before all the craziness. 54-hole lead, Patrick Reed is going to take a Sunday PGA Championship lead and lose it to Jordan Spieth for the career Grand Slam. 72 holes, but there will be a playoff. It might be between Spieth and Thomas, not Spieth and Reed.
What's the 3-hole aggregate winner?
Well, it's probably 16, 17, 18, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to cover a par 5 and a ridiculously hard par 3. I would say that Spieth plays it at 1 under and Thomas plays it at even. And Spieth hits the 40-footer that you just are dreaming about right now for the win.
that happens, I will get I'll find a way to get a bucket hat tattoo on I'll just permanently have that if this comes to fruition. You hit this hot take, I will permanently wear the Raiden hat on all shows going forward.
I love it.
Forever.
Mark that down, everybody. Mark it down.
You can mark it down. That one's in ink. That is the hot take of all hot takes. It's the perfect way to close out what's going to be an awesome PGA Championship. And the great thing about golf, in another month, we are going to be right back here with another major. It does not stop. So get inside the ropes. Again, we've got 2 great promos, Gold Rush and Play-In. You can get in for a week. You can get in for a month for 25% off. Get all the sports. So for me, for Eric, for Jason, for the whole team here, chat, we hope someone wins $1 million. It's out there this week. It can happen. And if it does, you're going to tweet us and we're going to put you in the Hall of Fame over at Awesemo. So we've got you covered here. Good luck this week. We're going to bounce on out of here, but we will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. That was an ultimate hot take.
I like that one.
I love, that's extreme. I like it.
What was the description Ben had